Hello, this is Vanessa from Make It Nifty sewing and dressmaking classes based in North Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. And today I'm going to show you 3 ways to thread the needle on your sewing machine. The first thing we need to do is make sure that the uptake lever on our machine is in the highest position before we thread our machine. Oh, focus, there we go. And to do that, what we need to do is turn the hand wheel on the side of our machine towards us until it's in the highest position, and also our needle is in the highest position. So let's go down and up. I think we're about good. So the needle's in a high position and so is the uptake lever. Now, just to make things a little easier to see, I'm going to remove the presser foot holder and presser foot on my machine. And I'm also going to just slide in a bit of dark coloured card so it makes things a bit easier to see when I zoom in. Okay, now I just wanted to show you quickly too what I need to do to get to the point where I'm about to thread the needle on my machine. So first things first, I've popped a spool of thread on the top of my machine following the diagram on the top of my machine here. So I've got the thread coming over the top of the spool towards the back of the machine. As we can see on the diagram, the thread is coming off the top of the spool towards the back of the machine, and then it's carrying on its journey. So the journey it takes is it first goes around this guide here. Step 1, going down through the groove into the tension disc just here, so down back there, underneath, looping underneath here, up the top, looping through my uptake lever, making sure that my thread is actually in that loop, zooming, just there, and then down here. So let me just show you what I do. And I'm just going to take my finger and helps me to pop that loop of thread, or pops the thread under the bar just there. Now first let's start with the classic cut the end and sort of eyeball it through the eye of the needle. The first thing you want to make sure of is that it's a nice crisp corner and there's no fluffies coming off the end of that bit of thread. Now I'm just going to dampen the end just by licking my finger and rubbing it along the tip there. And then my first tip is make sure that you're actually using a nicely tightly wound thread, which is usually a sign of a good quality thread. My second tip is make sure you've got a nice point on the thread there, and you can cut it off at a bit of an angle. Let's go this way. Let's be a bit sneaky. There we go. So it's got a nice sharp point. I'm dampening the end with a little bit of moisture. And another thing is, don't hold the thread a long way away. That gives us far less control over what the tip of the thread is doing. If we bring that right down to about 1 centimetre, I think that's about 1/4 of an inch, that makes it far easier for us to control as we're putting it through the needle. Now I'm just going to move the camera so it's just at a little bit of an angle, and I'm just going to see if I can zoom in a bit more. And with all those factors together, we've got it going through nice and easily. And I'm just going to take some tweezers. You can use your hands, but my big beefy hands will get in the way. And I'll just pull that through, and that's a nicely threaded machine. Another way to thread the needle on your sewing machine is to use a machine needle threader and inserter. So what we do is we pass the thread through this wide sort of funnel shape. It's a bit hard to see with the light at the minute. So that's a sort of funnel shape there that we pass the thread through, and then we run that along the needle from this direction. We've got our needle slotted into there, and what happens is there's a little metal tongue that is going to catch the thread and push it through the eye of the needle for us, and it's going to leave a little loop, and then we use the hook just there to grab that little loop and pull the thread through. These are really handy for sewing machines as well as overlockers, so I highly recommend you getting one of these from your local sewing shop. So let me show you how that works in action. Okay, so I'm passing the thread through that funnel shape as I mentioned before, and I'm running it, I'm putting a little bit of tension on that thread, and it's a bit difficult because of the angle that I need to hold it at. There we go, hopefully that works. And I'm running it down, applying a little pressure, and I should have found the eye of the needle. There we go, and I'm pushing it through, and you can see the tongue coming through the needle there. And we've got a teeny tiny little loop, and I grab the hook and pull that through the needle. So that's how oopsie daisy, that's how the machine needle threader works. The final way I want to show you how to thread the needle on your sewing machine is using an inbuilt needle threader. Now, not all machines have these, but if you do have one and you don't know how to use it, I'd thoroughly recommend you learn how to use it, because it makes threading the needle very simple. So what you do is you take, or what I do, sorry, this is how I do it. I take the middle finger on my left hand and use that to push the threader all the way down. I then control the loose end of the thread in my right hand, and I take my left pointer just to pop around the thread and pull it over into the thread guide over here on the left. I then take the thread and carry it up underneath the hook that's actually going through the eye of the needle just there, and up through and behind the thread guide over here on the right side of the needle threader. And I just want a little bit of tension on this thread, not so much that it's going to stop the thread from being pulled through the eye of the needle, but I do want a little bit of tension so it's nice and snug up against the hook that's coming through the eye of the needle just there. And I'll just zoom in for you. Let's see how this goes. Let me shift that across. So I'm coming around this guide over here on the left and underneath the hook that's coming through the eye of the needle, and behind this plastic thread guide on this side as well. Now I'm slowly releasing the middle finger on my left hand to raise the needle threader, and I let go, and I've actually got the thread caught in the hook a little bit, but that's fine. Just take a pin, pop it off that hook, and you've got a nice big loop that you can then pop a pin into and pull that thread through the eye of the needle. And that's how you use an inbuilt needle threader on a sewing machine. I just wanted to show you a close-up of what that built-in threader looks like. So here it is, and you can see the tiny hook just there. Oopsie daisy. The tiny hook just there that pops through the eye of the needle. And so what we do with the thread, or what we're doing with the thread when we're using that built-in threader, is we're passing it underneath that guide just there, underneath the hook and underneath the guide on the other side, and then that pulls it through the eye of the needle. So here's that built-in needle threader once more. So I'm lowering that needle threader all the way, and you can see just barely that tiny little hook that's coming through the eye of the needle just there. And so I'm guiding that thread underneath that little thread guide just there, underneath the hook that's coming through the needle, and just putting a little bit of pressure, or not pressure, we're holding that thread a little bit taut and releasing the threader, and there we go. We've got that lovely loop at the back. Take a pin and just pop it through that loop and pull that thread all the way through the needle. So now my needle is threaded, I'm just going to remove that card again. And I'm going to reattach my presser foot holder and presser foot open up my bobbin cover and grab my bobbin of thread. And draw up the bobbin thread like so. And we're good to go.